And welcome back. It is Monday. Sucks, but here we are, and I'm here to talk about some of the new Eagles added this weekend through the draft. We had some interesting selections, some drama in the late rounds, and I'm here to talk about it and see who the Eagles got and will they be good or will they be not? Poet, poet. I know. Okay, I heard it. I heard it myself. Uh, so in round one, the Eagles had the number 32 overall pick since they won the Super Bowl, but they decided that I guess they thought that we were going to or hold on. I guess that we thought that Kansas City was going to take the player that we wanted because right before our selection, we traded our pick and we traded our 32nd overall pick and the 164th overall pick. While the Chiefs were on the clock at pick 31 to jump one spot above them, because I guess maybe Howie thought that they were going to take our guy. And with the 31st pick in the first round, the Eagles selected Jahad Campbell, a linebacker out of Alabama. So Jahad Campbell was the number one ranking man coverage linebacker in the draft. And while linebacker isn't a position that we really have shoes to fill, if Howie is willing to trade and give another pick to jump over and get this guy, clearly he sees something in him. And Howie has been a historically good drafter with only a few bumps in the road. So hopefully this draft is just one of the other great drafts for the Birds in the last few years. That's how they got to the Super Bowl. They drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. They drafted Devontae Smith. They drafted Jalen Carter. Nolan Smith. They drafted all. I mean, yes, they got a lot of good guys for free agency, but they drafted a core of players that even without those free agents. And the draft is how we got A.J. Brown. You know what I mean? That we didn't draft him. We traded for him on draft night, our pick. But he had. So Jahad Campbell had 117 tackles in 2024, but he's an off-ball linebacker, so that's not his main thing. And he's more of a coverage linebacker, and he's in a rotation that's led by his main position is Nolan Smith Jr.'s position. And the interesting thing about that is we drafted Jalix Hunt last year, who also fills those shoes, and he's a off-ball linebacker that we drafted as a potential pick, like a prospect pick, like kind of like the MLB. You draft him and you build him up for a few years before he's good, then you call him up to the bigs. You know what I mean? He's kind of like a secret weapon of sorts. Now he did obviously step up and fill Smith's spot in the Super Bowl in that playoff run, and he didn't do it like wow, like he's the best player ever, but he did it well enough to where it's like, okay, this pick doesn't look half bad for like a 6th round pick or whatever it was to get Jalix. I actually think it was close to the 3rd or 4th round, but still like a late pick um, to get him, and he's turned out to be a decent player, which is interesting that we would take a linebacker. I think he's a great player. I think he's excited to be here, but just think it's an interesting pick that I do think he'll be our starter. Interchanging. I think Nolan Smith will take about 70% of the minutes because he's obviously coming off an ACL tear, or what was it, an ACL tear? It was a torn tendon, a torn patellar tendon. So not an ACL tear, but he's coming off a serious injury that sidelined him for a long a month of football in our playoff run, and that has that obviously caused him to not be as good, or not be as good, but it's going to be hard for him to get back into it, especially when that week of football he missed was heading into the off season and not October or or not wait, yeah, not like October or even like December where it's like start of the season, mid season. All right, moving on. Our next pick from the University of Texas, I believe, right? Hold on, let me verify because I don't want to. Wait, where did? No, he would. Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Oh no, he went to Alabama, huh? Oh no. He went to Alabama and he transferred to Texas. So yes, he was drafted out of the University of Texas. Andrew Makuba, a safety. This pick I love this pick. I think he's a great player. He was the fifth best safety in the entire class. Obviously, this isn't a pick where we're picking him and we're going to throw him on the field and expect him to be a superstar, but rather to fill the shoes of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was unexpectedly traded a few months back in March. We thought that he would be an Eagle for a long time, and instead we wanted Kenyon Green, a lineman, when we were really not low on linemen here in Philly, so I really don't know why that trade went through. I'm not happy about it, but it went through. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is no longer an Eagle, and it sucks, but you gotta fill a position somehow, and the Eagles elected to do so through draft Andrew Makuba. He will join the likes of former rookies now Quinyon Mucher and Cooper DeJean in our backfield, our coverage backfield, and obviously we got some veterans, Isaiah Rogers, that in our backfield. Yeah, we don't really have veterans in our backfield. No, we don't. We just have Isaiah Rogers, who's gonna step up this year. Now let's say is gone and ran his mouth after he left. But so we have a lot of young guys back there, a very developing field, and he should fit right in. I hope he does because that would be great for the Eagles. He should fit right in as one of the young guys. Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Quinyon Mitchell, and him are all young. I think they're all sub 25 at this point. Obviously, he is. He's in the draft. And the key stat for him is that he led in the SEC in interceptions last year in 2024. And obviously, if that continues, it'd be great for the Eagles because C.J. Gardner-Johnson is his main trade is picks. He had 12, and we still traded him. Um, so basically, we're going to probably have a position battle then with him and Sidney Brown, who I think Sidney Brown tore his ACL. He was carted off the field a while back, and he recovered, but he never like fully recovered to what he was. He was no superstar, but he did his job and he did it well. So it does suck, and hopefully he does get better and do better. But right now, I think that Andrew Makuba will be a starter on day one, and I don't think that would surprise me if he was. But if Sidney Brown's healthy and ready to go, I would love to see him back. And then, so here is another interesting pick because I don't know if I guess I don't think we particularly need this type of D line. I think we more need an outside linebacker at this point after losing Josh Sweat, but instead we drafted Ty Robinson. He is a 6'6", 310-pound beast. He is looks like he is only 24 years old, turning 20. Wait, he's old. This guy, he's old to be in the draft, but he's turning 25 before his first snap of football. So he probably went to college for the whole 4 years then, because usually, you go early, but I guess he probably went all 4 years. So this guy, we need to. Oh, Milton Williams left. That's it. Yeah, he went to the Patriots, didn't he? So yes, this makes sense. We're filling positions of our losses in free agency with young guys, and I I have mixed emotions about this because obviously filling positions is really important. You need guys out there. You need guys who are able to play, and I think these guys will be able to play. But at the same time, we just came off a Super Bowl win. I think we should still be in win now mode. And doing this will set you up for a future if it pans out. But you're still going to need a developmental process with these players. You're still going to need them to adjust to NFL football. And I don't know how quick you're going to be able to do that when you're coming in and expecting to be as good as big gaps. Milton Williams was a big player. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a big player for this team on the defense, so it's going to be hard to fill gaps. And actually, the Eagles went, and they did not draft in the third round. I don't know if I said that, but we traded our third round pick previously, so this was a round 4 pick. It was 111, and funny enough, the Eagles did not take a offensive player till we took our new backup in round 6, and we have a lot of later picks in this draft. So next we're entering round 5 now, where we have 3 picks this round, which is fun. So our first pick in this, this is something I want to kind of focus on. To lean back, relax. Shador Sanders. Uh, so if you weren't watching the draft, Shador Sanders was a guy who was projected about a year ago, like around this time. It's like, oh, he's gonna be the top 5 pick. He's gonna be the number 1 overall quarterback in the next draft, right? Like this time last year, it seemed like he was a clear cut, at least top 10 pick. And coming now into this draft, it was still in most mock drafts. He was like, oh, he's at least in the first round. But he ended up falling out of day 1, which was the first round, and then on day 2, he ended up falling out of the second round, and people were starting to obviously this is gonna start to people are like, what? Why is he dropping? And like no one knows like why is Shore Sanders dropping? Um, like because he was a great quarterback, and it did come out that from an insider NFL coach that he was the worst prospect he ever interviewed in terms of ego and like respect. And in terms of just a general interview, he did not do well at all. And that coach was furious and spread the news to the league. So that could be part of it. But he's still a really good prospect, in my opinion. And he fell out of the 4th round all the way down to the 5th round. And the Eagles traded up early in the draft to get this pick 145, right? And this is where we have drafted. And they were talking on the broadcast, and they said the Eagles have a lot of like interest in Shore Sanders. They might draft him to be their backup. And right before we could do that, a trade report came in that the Cleveland Browns, traded up to pick 144, and they drafted Sanders right before us. And then we waited to get a quarterback till the 6th round, where we're eventually going to take another white boy for our quarterback room that we'll talk about when we get there. A very weird selection, but we ended up going cornerback, filling Darius Slay. This is definitely not filling Darius Slay's role. I shouldn't even say that. But Mac McWilliams out of Central Florida, uh, you know, it's it's obviously filling Darius. It's filling his role, but it's not filling his role. You know, he's not gonna fill his role. He's only 5'10". He's 190, but he ran a 4.41. Really fast player, and now that we did sign Adoree Jackson. I forget about that. We signed Adoree Jackson, who will probably be filling Darius Slay's shoes. I don't really know much about Mac McWilliams. I know he's short, I know he's fast, and I know we should have got Shador Sanders. So maybe it's a personal thing I have against him for being being not sure. But he doesn't even have an ESPN page to where you can look at his stuff. Like he just doesn't have a page. Our next pick was just another Georgia Bulldog. I don't know how to say this, so if I say it wrong, I'm gonna say it wrong. But Smael Mondon Jr. The last part's right. I don't know how to say his first name. It's Smael. He's a linebacker out of Georgia, another linebacker in this draft. With him, he's joining the likes of Carter, Davis, Dean, Ringo, and Smith, who are all drafted out of Georgia. He was a 2-time national champion, so he stayed all. That tells us immediately that he stayed 4 years at Georgia, and he missed some time with an injury in the 2024-2025 season, and he has the and like obviously this is the same thing where he's filling reps for Nakobe Dean maybe, who's still coming back from his injury and will hopefully be good, but you don't know, and you gotta prepare. Now with our last pick in the 5th round, we finally drafted an offensive player, Drew Kendall, a center out of Boston College. Uh, yeah, this is the Eagles' favorite position to draft late in rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if we beefed him up and turned him into a great player. We drafted a lot of great guys. He was a first-team All-ACC player in 2024. He started 37 games at center at Boston College, and did really well in tests at the scouting combine with the second fastest shuttle time among offensive linemen. And I think this is a really good pick. As you can see, like clearly, this is all A plus in the scouting report. He probably went so low because he's a center out of Boston College. So Howie, but we know Jeff Stoutland, and we know how he can turn a player that's a risk into a great player. After all, we did draft a player who's never touched a football and turn him into an All-Pro, Jordan Mailata. So that was a fun one. It worked out great. So hopefully Drew Kelly, he or Drew Kendall, I'm sorry, You just got really lucky to get to Jeff Stoutland University and Jordan Mailata calls in. Hopefully, you become something great. You're probably not going to start over Cam Jordan's anytime soon, but maybe you'll become good and better. So we have a few more picks to talk about here, just quick ones. This is the last one I might talk about. You know what I mean? This was round 6, pick 181. Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. This is our funny white quarterback. Tanner McKee, Kyle McCord. After trading Kenny Pickett, that's on with it. We had to replace Kenny Pickett with something. So we drafted Kyle McCord. He was back a while ago. He set the single season record for ACC passing yards with 4,779. He has a really good touchdown and interception ratio. He threw 34 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and he's obviously the replacement to Kenny Pickett, even though technically the replacement to Kenny Pickett is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think he's now at the bottom of our QB list. If I had to rank it, obviously Hurts is one. But if you had to rank the backups, I would say Tanner McKee, Kyle McCord, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I wouldn't be surprised if Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't make the day one roster. But we didn't need a quarterback 3 last year, so never know. Maybe he will because of that experience where Kenny Pickett also was hurt with Jalen Hurts at the same time. And so, maybe we'll see some Kyle McCord minutes. That would be fun. All right. Oh, wait. It wouldn't be fun. Obviously, if we see some Tanner McKee, Kyle McCord minutes, that means either that the only way that's acceptable if the Eagles have clinched their spot in the playoffs and just don't care at the last week of football. You know what I mean? All right. Our last 3 picks, we have Miles Hinton, an offensive tackle from Mission. He's a really versatile at the tackle position. In 11 games last year, at college, he only played 11 games. He's 6'7", and 323, so he has a really big frame for an offensive lineman, which is great. Big frame OT, and obviously this is we're drafting these guys. We're drafting tackles to be at Jeff Stoutland's helm. And that is exactly why, with our next picks, just 16 picks later, we took a tackle out of Texas, Cam Williams. And once again, this is just a pick to see how he pans out with Jeff Stoutland, because at least one of these 3-4 guys that we got in this draft from the tackle position are going to be something special with him. And then our last pick, we took Antoine Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech. He's an edge. And I get this is just another, edge pick. I don't think he'll be seeing the field at all. I mean, if he does and he does well, then I'm rooting for him. Obviously, he's an Eagle now, but we drafted way too many edges that are above him already just via where they got drafted to us. Obviously, I hope he pans out great, and he's obviously replacing Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat, but there's not much to him. Hopefully, he's a good player, and hopefully these new birds can fly into Philly and do great. So that is it. We got some new birds, and hopefully we can talk about the Phillies soon. They play a series. I think they start tomorrow in Washington, series opener. Should be on the mound. Oh, we are going into Phillies territory now. I might as well. I gotta check, right? They have picked it up recently. They've won 2 games in a row against them. They won the series against the Cubs after dropping game 1. It is Zach Wheeler. Yay! Wheeler bump day. Always the best, especially against the Nationals. Not a great team. We sweep them. Wow, this is sad. The Heat are practically eliminated. I mean, I guess they're not, but they're down 63, 73, 83, 45 points in the third quarter. Anyways, I'm off track myself to 2 other sports now. So if you watched to this point to the end, thank you and goodbye. Have a nice day.